Do you know who I am? I made my bones when you were going out with cheerleaders.
Mr. Commando Dave, how are you?
Commando, what's going on, my man?
Commando Dave.
No, I mean, he's just trying to be fun.
He's not lazy, though. He's the hardest working guy. He works harder than all of us combined.
The voice, unique, interesting, and often controversial.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Vince, it's Commando Dave. I got you on speakerphone with the video camera rolling as a test run of an idea I've had for a long time. You're on Commando Dave's virtual reality show.
Wow, what can I say? What an honor.
My man.
Hey, Commando. What's up, buddy?
Well, Vince, you know, we've been talking a lot of Seattle Supersonics over the last few months, of course, and particularly over the last week or so since the Oklahoma City Thunder, 4 years after they were released from the Key Arena lease, started off, you know, they played in the NBA Finals, and now, after winning that first game, you and I talked a lot about, you know, watching the game or not watching the game. You chose not to watch the game. What I did was DVR the games, which means I taped them and then came in about an hour late or so and then just kind of fast forward them. And then at times I was even just putting it on fast forward and just watching the scores. And so, but the bottom line is after that, and I really couldn't, I get that idea because I could not watch I couldn't listen, I should say, to the crowd down there in OKC, and so I just, like I said, turned the sound down and did it that way. But that first game, of course, was a win for the Oklahoma City Thunder. We thought they may give the Miami Heat a run and possibly win it, which would have just exacerbated the situation as far as us being Seattle Supersonic fans. But thank goodness for a 4-game sweep. I call that a sweep, you know, and then have to be 4-0. You get beat 4 games in a row, you got swept. And so as the Seattle Supersonic fan that you are, just wanted to get your take, man. Start there in terms of watching, not watching, and how relieved or maybe not relieved you are that the Miami Heat prevailed over the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Well, Commando, you know, I've been a passionate fan of the Sonics for 41 years. Went to my first game in 1970 against the Kansas City Omaha. We knew way back then that the NBA had problems, okay?
Well,
you need 2 cities to share one franchise, you got problems.
Right.
Let's talk about this now. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they embarrassed the Seattle Supersonics. This is a shared history? Please. For 3 times, we won a total of 9 games. 4 during the championship, 3 the year previous in '78, and we won 2 against the Bulls in '96.
Right.
A total of 9 wins and 3 for an average of 3 wins per series. Come on, Oklahoma City. If we have a shared history, you got to win more than 1 game. And Commander, you were right. They got swept. They got swept by a player named LeBron James,
right,
who finally broke through. He broke through, and he became the player that everybody thought he could be. And so, absolutely right. And Commando, I will say this. I watched the last 3 minutes of that game last night.
Right.
And I enjoyed every gosh darn minute.
Do you mean every second?
Every minute, every second, every nanosecond, every millisecond,
right,
every whatever. I enjoyed that time nicely. However, I will tell you this. Kevin Durant is one of my favorite players in the NBA.
Right.
And he always will be.
Yeah.
The way he acted on that court,
yeah,
he showed true rejection. He was sad. This guy is a classy person, and I wish nothing but the best for Kevin Durant.
Right.
Period. I really like him as a ball player. Don't like the Thunder, but I can like the players. I don't have to
No, I'm with you.
That's where I'm at right now with that. However, we knew deep down that the not okay, Seattle Supersonics, whatever you want to call them,
right.
We knew they were not going to win. We knew that they did not have three. They didn't have the big three. Harden is not part of a big three. He's 2.3. You got two guys scoring 48 points, and Westbrook had 43, Durant had 28. They scored 71 points out of like 80-some points.
Right.
I mean, this is Oklahoma City. For them to get better, they just have to have somebody who can also take part in leading this team to win. However, I was very happy with the way things ended up last night. I didn't light up a victory cigar that, but
right.
I was very happy and relieved that they did not win the championship. Absolutely.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Vince. And, of course, we got the number 2 caller on the John Clayton Show the day before the John Clayton Show here on Commando Dave's virtual reality show. The pilot show, if you will. Testing it out, and as far as I'm concerned, so far it's going real good. Look, Vince, I couldn't agree with you more on Kevin Durant. On 2 things that you said, Kevin Durant, and then I'll get to LeBron James. Kevin Durant, love the guy. You know, the funny thing about it, during this little run in the playoffs, I pretty much laid it at the feet of the Portland Trailblazers for not picking Kevin Durant first. But, of course, that was during the time where us as Seattle Sonic fans thought that getting Kevin Durant second would mean a stronger Sonics team that would enable the ownership group to do what it could to keep it in Seattle. But big Kevin Durant fan, no question about that. Not a Thunder fan, as you say. But even as big of a Kevin Durant fan that I am, I gotta say it, I'm coming clean right here with Vince, the number 2 caller of the John Clayton Show. I love the fact that he was crying his eyeballs out. I just said, man, go ahead. You cry, baby. Cry it out. Nothing made me feel better of how bad the Oklahoma City fans felt than to see their star player bawling like a baby, like you said, being held by his mama.
I hope that Kevin Durant's tears ruined Clay Bennett's suit that he was wearing last night.
Right.
So the tears just rolled down his suit.
Right.
I hope that it just salted that suit away. You know, that was the hard part. It was still hard for me to see, even in a losing effort.
Right.
It was still hard for me to see this guy. And yes, he's not the whole blame here. We all know the coffee maven who sold this team out from under us.
Right.
Who didn't offer this team to local ownership like he should have.
Right.
However, it still is tough for me to see some things in this world, and that guy's face is always going to be tough for me to look at.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And then moving on to LeBron James. Say what you want to say about LeBron James. LeBron James is one of the greatest NBA players of all time. If they had an opportunity to redo the top 50 players list, somebody would just have to come off of it. So maybe they're going to do a 75 or something like that, because that guy is on it. LeBron James has had, even with the immense talent that he is, LeBron James, he's the poster child, I should say, or poster man-child for everyone that thinks that they have the talent to go from high school into the NBA. Very few people. Kobe Bryant really wasn't ready, even though it all played out well, of course. But no other player in NBA history that I can think of, maybe Moses Malone, has been as ready as LeBron James to just step in and start playing. And no player has had, when I say he's had a rough road to this NBA championship, he's had one of the roughest, because this guy, because of his high school ability and the ESPN culture. We haven't seen anyone from high school. I think Gasman made this point on his show yesterday. LeBron James, a guy we've been watching since high school. Most players, we watch them a little bit in high school. You know, we follow them in college. They go to the pros, that type of thing, and we watch them progress. LeBron James stepped out of high school where his games were being televised by ESPN and stepped into the NBA, put a Cleveland Cavaliers team on his back and did what he could do, went down to Miami, won the championship. And I couldn't be happier for the guy, and I couldn't be prouder of him, because this is a guy that rose to the occasion, Vince. This is a guy, man, that really just did what we as fans want to see and expect players, MVP, Hall of Fame type players, to do. Elevate your game, prove the naysayers wrong. You got beat last year in a finals that you thought you were just supposed to win, and you guys worked your butt off. And I'm really speaking for the rest of the Heat as well, but LeBron James in particular, because we saw this guy throughout. You didn't, because you weren't really watching and protesting. I love you for that, Vince. But we watched this guy step his game up to the point of leading his team to an MVP performance in the finals. And so LeBron James, as the king, finally got his ring, and I couldn't be happier for the guy.
LeBron almost averaged 30 points a game in this series, but that he's always been a scorer. What really opened my eyes was he averaged almost 8 assists per game. Mm-hmm. Now, this is from a forward, all right? And this isn't John Johnson, a point forward here. We're
right.
LeBron James here.
Right.
That was, you see, and that's what made the Heat win. They obviously they had the better team. They had the better talent. LeBron James moved that ball around.
Right.
If he averaged 30 points a game and 8 assists, he was directly responsible for 46 points per night.
Well.
There you go. He's a top 50 player. He just moved into the top 50. Whoever is the 50, replace him, put LeBron in, and then he wins another one. You're going to move him up to 5 or 30. Then, because he's going to keep going up the ladder. He'll keep ascending if the Heat win another championship. There's no question about that. But, Commando Dave, I need to rattle your memory. Sean Kemp came directly out of high school. He never played not 1 minute for Trinity Junior College. He basically came right out of Elkhart, Indiana, into the NBA. So can't forget our Sean Kemp here.
No, I'm not trying to forget anyone. Like I said, this is the pilot show. I don't have any notes. I didn't really prepare. And, of course, that should just be off the top of my mind, being a supersonic, of course. But got a lot of things, man. Camera angles. I got, my Johnny Carson-like microphone with my speakerphone here on the little tripod, so you cut me to the quick, Vince. I'll just say that.
What I want to do in this world is to one up Commando.
It's all good, man. Yeah, I do now. Hey, look at here. I'm gonna wrap it up with this.
Yeah.
Going back, of course, this being a Seattle Supersonics phone call and issue. I think we spoke, we spoke a number of times throughout the last couple of weeks during these NBA finals or playoffs, I should say, and then with a lot of things going on in Seattle as far as the arena talk and the rally and everything. I'm working on a new video about that as we speak. But one of the things I think I mentioned to you, Vince, was perhaps if by some, I'm always looking for the bright side. My Napoleon Hill thinking teaches me in every adversity lies a seed to an equal or greater benefit. And of course, the silver lining and half full and half empty, that type of thing. And so in preparation for the possibility of the OKC crew winning the NBA finals. I mean, it's easy to say now, of course, that they didn't. I was spinning it, or ready to spin it, that perhaps that would be the beginning of the Thunder history and this shared history nonsense we can, somehow we the fans, the official sports fan union, can start legally trying to revoke that. I'm stuck on Key Arena, and as you are as well, and one of the reasons is because of this paragraph that was drafted in. There's all this language that gave them this shared history that the city of Seattle just signed off on. And so, to cut to the chase, I was hoping that, thinking that perhaps that would be the beginning of the end of this shared history thing. But since it didn't work out that way, one of the pictures that I'm putting in the video is this picture of Clayton Bennett eyeing the Sonics championship trophy from '79 at the press conference back when he was sitting there with Howard Dutch Schultz. And the maddening thing, as much as I'm sure Sonic Nation is relieved that the OKC Thunder did not win a championship a mere 4 years later after being released from the Key Arena lease, don't forget, they have won. Technically, legally, whatever you want to say, Vince, we celebrating this year as a protest over this very trophy that I could not have on loan for our annual 79 Sonic celebration of the championship at Floyd's Place. Out of protest, I didn't have it because Mohai told me that the only one that could sign off on it was a vice president of the OKC Thunder. So don't forget, as crazy as it is, the OKC Thunder have a Larry O'Brien championship trophy. That's ridiculous to even have come out of my mouth the day after they got swept and denied the 2012 NBA Finals. Vince, wrap that baby up. What you got to say on that?
That trophy is Seattle's. That is our trophy. And Commando, I've been thinking about this, the paragraph 6 of the memorandum of understanding signed with the city back when they left originally. Now, that is still in full effect.
Right.
However, I do believe somehow, some way, if this new arena is not being built at the Seattle Center area,
right,
if they build it in Lesotho, I do believe somehow, some way, that the NBA would give the Sonics the shared history back, even though it had to be at the Key, okay? It had to be at Seattle Sonics Arena. We would get that shared history back. I think somehow, some way, possibly Chris Hansen knows if he does get a new team that we will be able to somehow incorporate our shared history and to delete the previous history of the team that we received. And who knows, Commando, what team are we going to get? Let's really, that is the big question here, too. What team is going to come here now? I don't know what's going to happen, but that trophy is ours. I want that trophy back. And I don't know how we're going to get it back, but, Commando, that's all I can say is that's our trophy. That's our trophy. And it's emotional to talk about it.
Mm.
And but I know that there's so many people in this town who want the Sonics back.
Right.
Not just an NBA team,
right,
our Seattle Supersonics. So we need to keep focused on the history of our team,
right,
and to get a new arena built pronto.
That's Vince, ladies and gentlemen, the number 2 caller from the John Clayton Show. You're going to hear him tomorrow as the number 2 caller on the John Clayton Show on ESPN 710 in Seattle from 9 to 12. But today, you hear him on Commando Dave's virtual reality show. Vince?
Oh, thank you, Commando.
You're my man. I'll talk to you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Okay. That's Vince, the number 2 caller.
You know what?
What?
I'm thinking about using Clayton just to call me number 2. Everybody else has got a nice nickname.
Right. That's good. Bring it up tomorrow.
Do you think he will?
I don't see why not. Clayton's accommodating.
That's Commando Dave, wasn't it?
He ought to have his own show.
Have you? Yeah, no kidding.
He definitely brings some great points.
Commando Dave said.
Great comments, Commando.